Hello. John Neal here. This video, thanks for tuning into it. This video is all about painting a watercolour painting, which I've done already, but it's just got locked up in a gallery and I can't get at it. So I have to paint it again. Well, before I start the painting, let me just say one thing. I'm not the world's best watercolour artist, don't claim to be. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve and they might be useful for you to have a look at. Anyway, let's get going. A watercolour painting, a copy. Right, I'm going to do a few things before we start. Just point out, these are just the brushes I've got, these few. And here's my paints. And I'm probably only going to use that one and that one. So it's going to be just two colours really, and variations of those. Now, the whole thing about the pencil that I put on already, which you can just about see, the boat is here. If you've got a person there, the person is likely to be the focus of your eye, the focal point. So it's best to put that in the third. So there's thirds going that way, and there's thirds going that way. So he's on the cross of these thirds, bottom left. And he's pointing into the picture from there, leaning in with his fishing rod. So it balances out nicely. The only other thing I've got here with me is 2 dishes of water. And I've also got my water spray, which I bought specially. When you're doing a fairly big piece of paper, this is 12 by 14, 18, I think. Originally, is to have a spray. This is very useful. Right, watercolour is everything to do with layers. So the first layer I'm going to do is just the background. It's the sky and the reflection on the water. So it's going to be, I'm just going to put lots of water on to start with to work all the way down, and particularly behind where these trees are going to go, because trees are never solid, they've always got holes in them. So I'm going to wet it right down to there. 2 yellow. I'm using a yellow ochre, I think, there. Yeah, that looks better. Shall I show you what I'm doing without dripping on the brush? Using this one. A little bit of this as well. Here's the black, which I'm going to use for the greys, which are going to come on in a bit. Now, the brightness, the luminosity is down here. So let's pop that in and sort of fade it up to nothing up there. And then let's bring this luminous part. And periodically in this painting, you will just see me stop and get the hairdryer out and just dry it off. Right, there's a great delicacy about the next part, which is just to do with the most distant part, which is quite faint. So I'm going to use a bit of black and a little tad of blue just to give it a bit of distance. And so everything over here is small and in the distant and faint. So you can just play about, and I'll bring it right over here. And of course I'll be putting darker stuff on top of this, so bring that along there. And then this is the nice trick. Get some clean water and this bottom edge, which you probably don't want. Put some clean water on it and just knock it out, like that. And that's the distance done. Dry that. So the next part is a little bit more dense. The colour's a bit more colour in this, but it's still a bit grey bluey, so let's stay with that. And there's a sort of at the end of here there's a, and must try and make sure these trees are not solid because everything comes through them. So if you put the brush to the side, you can often just dab it around and get a really nice effect. And let's just keep this layer there. It's got to be on some land, of course. I'm going to use a very small brush to give a little bit of now this of course will now start to show in the reflection, and it'd be really nice to try and take that middle bit out, some clean water. For a sort of misty effect as well. And while I'm there, I'll just put in, the light is obviously coming from this way, so everything over this side will be darker. So I'm just going to pop a little bit more dark, and the blue and the grey really do, in a sense, give more of a sense of distance. So put this a little bit more that way. Let's put a bit more of this back in here. Next, we've got some trees here, which are, they're sort of middling. They're very similar degree of shade to that. So let's just start that's not too bad. Right, I am definitely going to use this big brush on its side here to create these shapes and make some gaps in there. So there will be some sort of tree so those will reappear here. I'll go through the boat, that's going to be quite dark, that'll come over the top. No worries there. So there to there to there is going to be so basically here we're really trying to bring those colours into the water, and imagine they're just clipping the bits of wave in each one. And by and large they will be slightly darker than what's up here. Let me just get a slightly smaller brush and see if I can just connect these into the ground. Take those down and so what I've done here is established this background, a bit closer still, bigger trees. I'll put some more pen marks possibly, or might you just use a brush to put some little branches going through here. And then all that's got to be reflected back here. Take a bit of water and just pull out some of the paint, and it gives a sort of a misty effect around the edge there, which I think works quite well. This bigger brush, now I'm going to put all this quite more detailed, so it's going to be fairly dark. I'm going for a sort of a grey So I'm going to still make it blue and black, but I'm also going to put some of the this yellow ochre in, make it more of a little bit of colour, because it's not lost all its colour. So this is, you can see it's got a little bit more in it. Right, so this is really got to, and I'm going to cut the tree in half, which I think will be quite good. So I'm not going to just do the whole tree and keep it all on the page. But I'm going to go right up here. And if you use the brush sideways and hold it like this, you can get some interesting effects. Sort of randomness of the tree. I think works quite well. Right, I've got to bring it down here. And right off to the edge. I can afford to put a bit darker here, a bit more blue, a bit more intense. Here we go. Underneath here and down here, it's going to be a much darker sort of place. Under the trees. And these trees will have possibly some much bigger trunks coming down here. Right, let's just get a smaller brush. My favourite sable, number 6. Right, so bring those in. More colour going. And then, and what I'll do, you see, is take some sort of lines up here in these gaps. Particularly when it's dry, so let's just put a bit more in it. The trunks have got to be slightly thicker at the bottom than the top, so let's do that underneath there. So, and I just want to knock this bottom line into the water. Come on, here we go. This brush is nice to do this with. Just reflecting those 3, but I'm leaving a space there. Make sure it's all another one here. And now of course we're going to need a lot more of this, not as dark as all that, so that's probably going to be okay. So let's see if we can. Sometimes useful to bring the mount in and just see what we're doing here. I want to take those trees right off there. They look too, they need to spill out the picture a bit more. So let's just get a bit more. Right, let's put man in boat here. Not too wet. I've penciled it in more or less, so I've a fairly good idea where it's going to go. I like doing boats, they're nice shapes. Of course, they don't sit on the water, they sit in the water. So you've really got to make it go underneath. And I think the easiest way of doing this is to just to bring, obviously it's mirror image, so do that, we're on our way. very, very fine line here, so let's get this brush nice and pointy brush. That's okay. Let's immediately, I want this darker than the other pie. So let's just bring that down here, straight away. Right there, that angle. So these shapes are quite, the lines are quite sharp, and then when they go down here, they break up on the water. I suppose he's anchored in to a little point there. If I'm going to put anything on him, the light's coming this way, so this side of him is going to be dark over there. So let's just make a suggestion of that. Put a little bit of something, detail on the boat. There we go. Yeah, that's nice and dark. That's what I want. Right, what I want to do now is just create some lines as if it's the surface of the water. And one way is to pull the paint off if I can. So if I put some water lines across here, just quite, and then take some kitchen roll, with a bit of luck, might pull a few lines off. See if that works. There we go. The other thing we can do is to use a white pen. This. Just check it's not going to. I'm just checking that it's going to run properly. Looks okay. Yeah, that's nice. A nice straight line actually. Quite like that. Just bob it again. The other thing you're likely to see on water surfaces here, a little bits of flotsam and bits and pieces just sitting around, floating about. Which would hopefully have. What I will often do now is leave it, put the mount around it, and then leave it for a while, and then just think and look at it, and then come back and think, oh, I ought to add this, or I ought to add that, or do a little bit more there. So I can use one of my pens, a pen, and just add a few more tight details, particularly around the tree here. That's always nice to put a few bits in there. That would work quite well. Or maybe just tighten up around here. Well, there you have it, and here it is, done and finished. Pack that up and send it away. I will actually sit and look at it for a while, because I think sometimes I look and think, oh, maybe a little bit here and there, something needs adding to it or something I've forgotten to do. Must make sure not to do anything too much on it. There's nothing worse than finishing it off and then overdoing it and doing too much. So to a degree, I'm going to say finish it, leave it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching so far. I hope it was of some use to you. Do stay safe. I will see you next time. You'll see me, I know. And thanks for watching. Subscribe if you will. Press the button and for notifications. I think my followers are approaching 15,000, which is good news. Jolly good. Okay, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.